Hey everybody, Jake here. Welcome back to Movie Smoothie, where today we're talking a little bit about Season 6, Episode 4 of Rick and Morty. That is, of course, Night Family. Now, before we get into this review, if you guys can like this video and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that. Now, talking a little bit about this episode, because I'm really excited to talk about this one. Probably my favorite episode of Season 6 so far. Directed by Jacob Hare and written by Rob Schrab, who also co-wrote Monster House, a movie that messed me up so bad as a kid, I would hide in the kitchen whenever the trailer would play during a commercial break. That scared the heck out of me. Congratulations, Rob. You made me nearly poop my pants as a child. So, once again, Rob has kind of done that here. I absolutely loved this episode. Really creepy idea for a Rick and Morty episode. I loved the mix of the horror movie vibes with the Rick and Morty humor. It was a really nice blend of tone, something that Rick and Morty hasn't really jumped into too often. Maybe the Cronenberg episode is the closest thing to this one for a good comparison, but I really liked Night Family. Like I said, maybe my favorite episode of the entire season, even though I feel like most people's favorite episode has been last episode, with the two Beths making out and going ham on each other. Oh, that was probably the grossest way for me to say that, but let's break down this episode a little bit, talk about some of the cool things about it. Let's go through the plot first, though. So, we have Rick here obtaining an alien device that allows him to voluntarily sleepwalk, creating a night person who does tasks that he doesn't want to do in the daytime. The rest of the family create their own night people who exercise, learn new skills, and do household chores while the Smiths sleep. Eventually, Night Summer leaves a note requesting that Rick rinse the dishes before she washes them, but Rick deliberately ignores the request. Seriously, such a simple thing, Rick. Come on. The escalating conflict between the Smiths and their Night Family over the dishes ends with Night Summer and her minions locking Rick out of his own technology, building a giant version of the alien machine to maintain permanent control of their bodies, and enslaving their diurnal selves while the Night Family sleeps. Very funny episode, by the way, and I just love how powerless Rick is in this season. We're going to talk about how that's actually kind of a nice change of pace. Even though I can see some people being frustrated with it, it's going to change next episode, I think. We'll get into that in a second. The Smiths attempt to escape with the help of Knight Jerry, whom Jerry had befriended by leaving handwritten notes for him to read, and a chaotic fight sequence ensues as both sides fight for control by tranquilizing and waking each other up. This is one of the coolest things about the episode. I love this entire fight sequence. It's so cool to watch. I had to pause the episode and rewind it because there's so much happening during this entire sequence. If it's the driving sequence, which is really funny and crazy, or if it's actually how this whole thing ends with all of them like fighting and they're knocking each other out and turning into the night selves, then they wake back up and then are fighting other people. It's so chaotic. I loved the entire third act of this episode. It was really well written, I think. So after 4 of the 5 family members turn to their night selves, Night Summer offers a truce in exchange for Rick washing his dishes. Rick, of course, refuses because fuck that, and as a result, Summer allows his night person to forcibly retake control of his body. During a post-credits scene, months after wasting money and living exorbitantly, leaves the Night Family destitute. Rather than live with the consequences of their hedonistic lifestyle, Night Rick simply destroys the machine responsible for their creation in the first place, returning Rick and the family to normal. Now, there's a lot to unpack with this episode. There are so many things that I took away from this that I thought were hilarious. I heard a lot of people and other YouTubers comparing this to the movie Us from Jordan Peele. I don't necessarily know if that's a fair comparison. I mean, that's a movie about doppelgangers coming out from the sewers and killing their respective other and then taking their place, essentially. This is much more about how we just want to not have to do a lot of the bullshit we have to do. So we create ways to get around those kinds of things, and that's what a night person is. It's the same person in one. It's like 2 people in one body, essentially, opposed to 2 bodies that look exactly alike and are doppelgangers going after each other. So this is a really fascinating episode to me. I love that it also is kind of a secret dive into Summer's character, which was something I found pretty interesting. I've seen a few people discussing, is there an evil Summer out there? We learned that there's kind of this dark side to Summer. Like there could be a universe where maybe Summer is leading the pack opposed to Rick. That's what we see from the Night Family here, where Summer is in charge. I like that this one focused a little more on her character. We've had so many episodes not so many episodes, but a few more episodes focusing on the character of Beth, which I've really appreciated lately. It's what I praised about last week week's episode, and it's nice to do a deeper dive into her character. I feel like I know Beth a lot more now, but Summer is now the one that I feel like is the most underdeveloped. So this was a nice episode to go back to back with that Beth episode. It's really cool to see these side characters get developed into as big of characters as Rick or Morty, and like everybody, all of the Smith family members are getting a lot of these really good episodes. Seems like we're getting a Jerry episode next week, which I'm really excited for. Those are typically my favorite, oddly enough. The Whirly Durly episode I feel like is very underrated. It's a really fun episode, but it does beg the question if there's an evil Summer out there somewhere. Maybe somewhere out in the universe there's an evil version of Summer, just like how there was with Morty and of course Rick Prime now that we know about. Another thing I wanted to comment on is just the whole idea of Rick being so powerless this season. It's something that I can see maybe some fans getting frustrated with, but in the previews for next week's episode, we see Rick with all of his tech back, and he's gonna go crazy with it again. But it was interesting to see Rick just kind of fucked here. He was so powerless. There's not a whole lot he could do in this situation, and I wonder if he's starting to feel that a little bit. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is like, is he starting to get sick of this? You know, is he really just like, oh my god, like I have to fix this. I gotta fix the portal gun. I gotta get my tech back. Is that what next week's episode is about, is my question. Because we see Jerry and Rick has a lot of his powers back. Like we saw that one shot from the trailer, for instance, where his arms fall off and then he has the robot arms with like the the whips, and he's like breaking all these robots. It looks awesome. I wonder if that's what next week's episode is about, which is titled Final Desmithation, which, by the way, to correct that, this episode does not come out next week, but October 9th, which is in 2 weeks from now. So we are taking a week off, but I'm still super excited for this episode. It's gonna be dope. And also in the preview, we saw a very hilarious little animation of Jerry just going nuts and looking like an assistant. They reference an anime, but I'm just not familiar with that, unfortunately, so I can't really comment on that joke. That one went over my head, unfortunately, but I am very excited for this next episode. Like I said, it's gonna be a Jerry and Rick episode. These are like some of the best, in my opinion. Whirly Durly, baby. Whirly Durly Part 2 essentially is coming next week. Very excited for it. What do you guys think, though? Leave me something about it in the comments below. How did you think about this? What did you think about this episode? Was this your favorite so far? Least favorite? Kind of in the middle somewhere? Leave that in the comments too. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Don't forget to kill it out there. Watch my main channel, KillJoy Jake, for horror movie updates. Do all that good stuff. Love you all. Peace out.